of the Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with the Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with the Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with the Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
Welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab.
Well, hello and welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab. My name is Adrian Hernandez. I am here today with Brennan Vogt, Jackie K, and Evan Liu to talk about the Colorado Avalanche. Thank you folks so much for joining us. It's going to be a fun day as we have a lot ahead of us as the season has changed. We've got NHL Draft talk. We've got free agent talk. We've got rebranding potentially to talk about. There's a lot going on in the NHL despite the fact the Stanley Cup final has come and gone. So thank you for joining us. Please head on over to the website milehighhockey.com where you can find all of our written material to include some draft strategy. I've got a opinion piece coming out tomorrow about the penalty kill unit and how the Avs can bolster that. Jackie's always got some great things to include the morning flurries. And, of course, head on over to Hockey Mountain High to catch anything Brennan and Evan have going as well. Thank you to the three of you for joining me today. Let's get right into it. I really, really want to start with the draft as we are quickly approaching draft day. Going to be an interesting one with it not being in a centralized location this time around, I believe. So, and we've been told that that's not going to last. They're going to go right back to the old format. But the real question at hand is how are the Avalanche going to approach the draft as they have for lack of a better term, a pretty thin draft portfolio going into this 2025 NHL Draft. Jackie, I want to start with you because you're usually the one who's relatively privy on a lot of these younger guns and prospects. What do you expect the Colorado Avalanche to do as we approach the 2025 NHL Draft? Will they package picks with potential roster players to make a move to further themselves in the draft, or are they going to stand pat and take the picks that they have? Floor is yours, Jackie.
Oh boy, there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, I have not been doing draft research because I'm not going to tell you what fourth rounders they might pick. So, they've taken the draft away from me, so I got nothing for you there. As far as strategy, I do have an article coming out Friday morning. Talks a little bit about the fourth round and their seventh rounders. Surprisingly, there's a lot of fun facts with the Avs in the seventh round, but I'll have to let you read the article to get that one. I mean, I wrote 500 words on the seventh round, guys. So,
wow.
So this is prime stuff that I'm not just giving away. But
love it.
As far as what are they gonna do, I don't see that they can do anything but make those picks. They're not that valuable on their own. I mean, you have to make some sort of pick. So, I mean, I don't see them just like using it to just completely rid of the entire draft class. I think they know they need to make something. So I'd expect them to keep those picks and make them. As far as will they get more, we'll see. Depends if they really are trying to get rid of somebody. It'd be nice if they got, I called them a top 100 pick, which now is first, second, third round, barely into the fourth round. But like top 100 picks are more important than sub 100 picks. So a top 100 pick would be lovely, but that's very much wishful thinking. I just think they know they've punted the draft and they just kind of made their bed, and hopefully they pick two guys. Hopefully they pick two guys that will actually show up to development camp next week. That'd be nice. But we know that they like to look for overagers, Russians, NCAA players. I really hope they just kind of pick the best talent that's on the board and stop trying to overthink it. So I would like somebody that can actually show up and isn't one of these like random 20-year-olds that they think they've outsmarted the league in finding. Just pick the talent on the board. That's all I'm asking. So that's my thought of the draft.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of right there with you. I mean, I'd be surprised to see the Avalanche make moves to move up in the draft. As I kind of alluded to in the question itself, they'd almost have to package that with a roster player. Yeah. I mean, they don't have a pick.
They've never moved up. Like the only guy they ever moved up for was Ryder Rolston, and he and then they traded him. So since the Sakic era, I think that's the only time they ever even moved up. So they don't even they don't attack the board that way. But you have to have assets and you have to have picks to attack the board that way. But even when they did, they still don't do it.
Wait, they moved up? No. They moved back for Nabokov. Never mind.
Yeah, and then the Zellers too. I think they moved back a couple picks for him.
Mm-hmm.
So they at least moved a couple times and picked up extra picks last year, which that was even rare for them. But moving up, that's something they just don't do.
It's like they better pick someone good because. They better pick someone good because I'm going to miss my kids' hockey practice for this.
Well, I mean, if that's what you're missing, I mean, just for your situation, let's hope that they do trade a pick and potentially one of their contracts that might be looking like it's a little expensive. I know, Evan, names like Charlie Coyle, Ross Colton, they have hit the table in terms of potentially being packaged with some of these later picks. As a means of dumping contracts, maybe even a Miles Wood, as Anthony has pointed out in our comments. Anthony, thank you for tuning in. That might be a little bit harder, but San Jose says they're willing to eat contracts. Evan, where do you stand? Do you see as it being at all likely that the Avs trade up here in this draft?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't foresee it happening, but it could happen if they want to make noise, if they want to figure out a way to somehow wiggle into that first round, which I doubt is going to happen at all unless they trade a big name guy, which I again don't see happening considering what they've already done with trading big name guys in the last 6 months or whatever it's been, however long. And yeah, I just don't foresee that happening. It would have to be some sort of contract dump. Sort of situation. And I mean, the Avalanche have made some moves with San Jose in the past. Of course, you think about Blackwood and Georgiev. If I'm not mistaken, I think Nico Sturm was from San Jose in 22.
He came in the Cogliano deal.
Yeah. So there are definitely options there because I mean they worked with the Sharks before.
That's
whether or not San Jose goes through with it.
Sturm
two times. Yeah, 2 times. So, I mean, they could do something. I don't foresee them doing much of anything, especially since the organization has pretty much already said that they think they're set in stone for next year, which
I find that
love
pretty
that. I don't love that, but I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, it's funny too because if I'm not mistaken, didn't Nico Stern's dad just get hired in Boston as the head coach as well? Or am I
I
losing?
don't
Am
know
I
if they're
drawing
related.
parallels?
I
If
want to
they're
say
not
they're not
related,
related, but
that would not surprise me. But it's like the Forsberg thing, how everybody thought the Forsberg in Nashville was related to Peter, and that just wasn't the case ever. But that's
I
cool.
don't
That's cool.
I don't think
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have anything that gets them into the first round unless it's like Netchus, and that
No.
that would just that. I don't think they're ready to go there, so they don't even have anything to get them in the 1st
Mhm.
round.
I'm not. I don't really know too much about the players in this draft pool, but just the fact that no one is jumping off the page, not like a few guys like typically in drafts, it makes me feel like either one of two things: it's not as deep as drafts in the past, or it's deeper and there's just not those really big marquee names coming in. Like McKenna next season, everyone's going to be once again, we'll see the fire sale and people basically tanking just to get a potential draft pick for this kid. That's not happening, I think, this draft. So I feel like I don't know. It's kind of up in the air for me. Not a lot has gone into personally looking into this draft either, Jackie, because I like how you put it. The Avs have sort of punted on the draft. So I guess it remains to be seen. But Brendan, I do want to ask you a little bit about some Eagles news. There's been some coaching turnover down at the Colorado Eagles level. Can you explain what's happened down there with Sneaks? And do you have any idea or what do you think of the potential changes at head coach for the Eagles?
The new coach, by the way, for Boston is not related.
Cool.
His son
Good
is
clarification.
Mason Stern, who is didn't even he played D3 college. He's playing
Gotcha.
D3 college. So not even close.
Gotcha.
Shout out D3 Athletics.
Hey, well, I am not knocking it, Evan. I'm just saying it's just D3 hockey compared to D1 hockey.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a bit of a difference. But anyways, Sneaks, yes, he has been hired as the Seattle head coach and or not head coach, assistant coach, and much deserved. Honestly, I'm surprised it took this as long as it did after the season for him to get the spot. And this just tells me that the Avalanche are not willing to promote from within.
Yeah, I mean, part of that might be that he got offered a better deal to go to Seattle. But I'm with you. Like, if he says, "Hey, Seattle wants to pay me this," and you think he's a fit, you probably just match it for him to stay. So I'm with you. That was my next question, actually, Brendan. We've seen now two guys that kind of fit the Avalanche fold not become the assistant. That search is narrowing, you'd hope, but it's hard to tell who it's narrowing on.
If they're even gonna hire an assistant, they may go without. Yeah, they may go without an assistant this year.
Oh, they have to.
Oh, well, you never know.
Workload you can't just not have.
Yeah.
One.
We may want some more salt and pepper hair on Bednar.
Yeah, exactly. You want to stress this guy out to the max, or what? Well, he's been known to be a delegator, so I don't foresee that happening.
Yeah,
but it's a possibility.
It's true. But anyways, High Note has also taken off to Tampa, everyone's favorite team, and so like I said, it just tells me that the Avs aren't willing to promote from within, and Jackie has very strong opinions on that. I know. So she has voiced it on multiple occasions, and it just tells me after he's been in the organization at Sneaks, that is, has been in the organization for 19 seasons. 19 seasons. That is loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I think it is kind of shocking that he didn't get the promotion. In some ways, like I said on the other podcast, he's only been an AHL head coach for 2 years. I do think it might be a touch early to move on to the NHL. So that's one reason why I think maybe the Avs weren't looking in that direction. But I think it does say a lot that like you said, he's been in Colorado for so long that now he's moving on to completely somewhere new. And one thing that I didn't know that you wrote in your article, which I thought was really interesting, was that he was actually part of the Stingrays and
Yes.
was familiar with Bednar from back then. I think I did not know that fact, so that also was very interesting. So he has a personal tie with Bednar, and he wasn't the choice. Now, we don't know until we see. Maybe they have a great idea. Maybe we see who they hire for the assistant. We're like, oh man, that was fantastic. Mm-hmm. But that's not really their MO. So to spend a lot of money and hire a big name. So, I mean, if they end up with like Bruce Boudreau as your assistant, everyone would be like, oh my God, what a great move.
You want to hear a lot of F-bombs in that
well, if it's Boudreau though, then it might be one of those scenarios that we talked about on the last podcast where the seat gets a little hotter if you bring in a guy, a big name like that, and Bednar doesn't realize early success on the season, and you have somebody with head coaching experience as an assistant. I think that although Sakic and McFarland came to the table in the offseason and said Bednar is our guy, I think what they do with this assistant coach hiring will say something in terms of that. Because if it is a big name, like we say, the seat gets hotter. But if it was a guy like Schneeks, it makes sense to me. That's why a part of this is like it has to be one of those two things. Either Schneekloth got an offer that he couldn't refuse from Seattle and it was better than the Avs were willing to go, or the Avs have some pretty clear targets that they're just zeroing in on, and for whatever reason, he wasn't even a part of the equation. And that doesn't feel likely unless it's a big name. So
yeah.
I feel like they're going to go cheap. That's what they always do. They probably have him hired. They just haven't told us.
Yeah.
Like with development camp next week, they have to have an AHL staff. Like, who do they plan to run development camp?
Carl.
So yeah. I feel like they've hired somebody. They just don't feel like telling us. And
David Carl's always stuck around during the summer. I mean, he lives here.
He would probably have to charge them a pretty penny just to be their little stand-in. Like, his stock has risen so high, like he could get an NHL job today if he wanted. NHL head coach job. He's not going to show up at Avalanche development camp for their 7th rounders. He's way more important than that
though that like he learns a lot from it. So it's an opportunity for him to learn, because I've asked him about it, and it's chances for him to watch what other coaches do at higher levels and then take it to DU. But with Sneeks,
but there are no coaches at higher levels because the Avs haven't hired them.
Well, in previous years.
Yeah.
Well, no, I get why he would do that then, but I'd be very surprised if he would agree to take that on now with the status that he has.
And then the Bednar Sneeks overlap was the year that Sneeks came in from UND. So he only played. So Sneeks only played like 9 games. So he wasn't there. They weren't together long. It was, at the end of the season.
It still is a very interesting connection, though.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting connection, and it's another Stingray connection that the Avs have, which makes me think it's like, well, then when the Capitals eliminate their when their contract's up with the Capitals for the ECHL, and the Utah moves. I'm hearing New Jersey.
Colorado.
Yeah, are the Stingrays going to become their affiliate?
Yeah.
Because now the head coach in South Carolina is another former defenseman.
Yeah.
David, I can never pronounce.
Horsofsky.
Horsofsky, who is a former Avalanche, former Rampage, San Antonio Rampage. For those of all you guys who don't know, was the AHL affiliate before the Eagles, and also fed into the Blues for like a year with the Avs. It was retarded, but and then he played for the Eagles as well. So he's got lots of ties to the Avs, but Who knows?
Yeah, that would be interesting. I think the ECHL's relevance to the NHL club, at least the Avs standpoint, is just very, very minimal.
So minimal. Yeah.
I don't think they need to be in the same region. But that would be an interesting tie if they were able to get the Stingrays to be their affiliate for sure.
The last time we saw like an actual call up from the Utah Grizzlies was Trent Miner on an emergency call basis. I think when like Georgiev and Annunen went down and the Eagles couldn't get their goalies up quick enough. So they're like, Utah's close. Bring Miner up. And Miner just happily sat on the bench like,
yeah, I think after they figured out that sending prospects to the ECHL doesn't help them and probably hurts them, then they stopped kind of doing that. So, like you're right, not as much movement anymore.
Yeah,
Lerman's a victim of that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we see some affiliation clarity here in the future as that Grizzlies news is dropped, and hopefully the Eagles can realize the same amount or close to the same amount of success as they did last year, despite
move them to the Springs.
Yeah, because they had a pretty good season despite losing to the eventual pretty good. You like that, Brandon?
Are you talking Grizzlies?
No, I'm talking Eagles. I'm saying I hope the Eagles maintain the success despite having coaching turnover.
I was going to say Grizzlies were the worst team in the ECHL, man.
No. The Eagles lost to the eventual champions, so they had a good year. They had a good year. One of the things I wanted to bring to the table, which I don't feel like anyone is really talking about, and maybe you can poo-poo me and we can move on, but the Avs right now are spending roughly $10 million on 3 goalies, to include Ilya Nabokov, who they signed at an entry-level deal. How likely, on a scale of 1 to 10, Evan, I'm going to you. How likely on a scale of 1 to 10 do you see that potentially a proven backup like Scott Wedgwood could be appealing to a team, I don't know, like the Oilers, who seem to be without a goalie but could get him sort of on the cheaps? Is that a potential trade? Because the Avs got some work to do to keep up in the arms race. Leave Skinner over there. I didn't talk about that.
I was gonna say I hate the fact that you just brought this up. I don't like that idea at all.
Well, I look at the balance of that number and I'm like, that's more money than they typically spend at that position.
I think here's my thinking with that. Obviously, both Scott Wood, that's not his name, Scott Wedgwood and Mackenzie Blackwood kind of came in and saved the Avalanche's season when you really think about it, and turned the tide. I think back especially to that December game in Buffalo, up here closer to me where I was in person, saw them go down 4-0, and then Wedgwood came in and the Avs roared back and won 5-4. And then less than a week later, Georgiev was gone. So I don't see how and why you would trade him, especially because this upcoming season is the last year of his contract. Now, I think it's a bigger question of whether or not the Avalanche would sign him, because then at that point you'd have Nabokov at least potentially over in the U.S. Playing over here. Whether or not he gets like the full-time role after that as a backup, who knows? I could see why it's appealing for other teams, perhaps, to look at someone like a Scott Wedgwood as someone reliable who can come in and do a job. But I don't see how it would be appealing for the Avalanche unless you get like a spectacular return. Because I think, if I'm thinking right, after Wedgwood then is Miner. I guess he's not technically under contract, but
he's an RFA.
You're hoping that he gets signed, so it would be Miner. I don't even know. Adam Scheel, I guess.
He's
is he with Utah?
No, he's he's the weird one.
That's what people say about me.
No. Okay, let me go to my tracker. Give me a second. I've got it.
Well, the reason is that I don't see the Avalanche making any sort of move like that unless it's a spectacular return. And if you want to put Mackenzie Blackwood on the Alexander Georgiev route and have him play 65 games a year, which
well, that's kind of the scenario in which this would make sense, because I think we've all come to terms and agreed that like Nabokov's probably not quite ready for the North American game and the jump to the NHL right off the rip. He's a great goalie. He's set to be in position to be an NHL goalie someday. But the part that makes it interesting for me is the fact that you're paying both Scott Wedgwood and Nabokov just about the same, with Nabokov making just under $2 million, and for the same exact term. So you're going to have to make a choice on both of them. That, or you've already made a choice on Scott Wedgwood in terms of when his contract comes up. But you don't know how the dust is going to settle. You know,
Well,
they've
I'd say
committed
with
to Mackenzie
Nabokov,
Blackwood. So go ahead, Jackie. Sorry.
it's an ELC. So, I mean, are you looking at performance bonuses? Like,
Right.
that's not the value of his deal. Like, that's not his cap hit.
Sure.
And Nabokov too he's already confirmed to be going back to the
he's loaned.
KHL.
Yeah, well, but he still hits the cap.
Yeah.
And
No, well, not because he'll be on loan, so he's like under the Barry limit.
Okay.
and Shields Group 6 UFA,
which means he's gone. Like, they don't care about him.
Yeah. So then why? Well, I mean, I get why you have to show a level of commitment, and I guess it doesn't cost you. It just, there's a lot going on in that goaltending room.
Well, my question on the Nabokov thing is, if they forecast him to slide in after Wedgwood's contract expires, then wouldn't it make sense that he plays in the AHL this year?
Right.
So to me, that's what's not adding up here.
A lot is not adding up to
is
me.
if
Yeah,
they
exactly.
if they really foresee that sort of handing off, then he's not going to be ready. And I doubt when he comes over in the spring, whatever he gets, that's going to count as his AHL seasoning. I'd be surprised. So, but then the other thing is Trent Miner is not signed. And I think that's a concern, because if you've identified him as your third goalie, then why isn't that contract done? It's not, and people would say, oh, it'll get done, don't worry. That's not what I'm getting at. Like, they'll get done what they want to get done. It's more of a question of, do they want it to get done? And so why isn't he signed by now? If he's an easy signing like we saw with Steinberg and Poland, you sign it. So he wasn't part of that grouping. He has arbitration rights. Is he trying to lean on his leverage, or do the Avs just not care that much? So that's a question there too, because I think he did establish himself as the organization's third goalie. They didn't need to go out and rent a third position veteran. You know, they were okay with him. And so I like that, but they got to do the next step. Like, what are they doing with Trent Miner moving forward? So I think that's another question.
Well, he is arbitration eligible, and he had the best season he has ever had.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him go to arbitration and be like, yo, pay up.
Yeah. Then good for him. I hope so.
Good for him.
Yeah, and I mean, well deserved, and Miner definitely has earned it. It's just, and then they can turn to Shield and be like, do you want to still come here?
So I have a question logistically about the Nabokov KHL loan situation. If the Avs traded him, would that loan be in place for the franchise he was traded to, or would they have to reinitiate it?
I think it would.
Okay. And they couldn't pull the loan. So him as an asset changes completely when they decide to loan him to the KHL.
Well,
I don't think that you would want, because you still need his agreement.
Right.
So I think if you did something like that, like if you're talking about fully legally, like if they're in a dispute who has the legal rights, that's a tough one to say. But just in actually what would happen is, he would still continue doing what he wants to do.
Yeah. Well,
I think at that point,
interesting because go ahead, Evan. Sorry.
I feel like at that point, anyway, if the Avalanche trade him mid-loan, mid-season, or whatever, then at that point, it's just the new team's right to kind of do whatever to him.
Yeah.
I guess they want to call him back, but I don't know. It's
beyond
our range.
Yeah, and then I think I remember Evan, the other Evan, mentioning that the Avs are being hit by the cap on it.
Yeah.
But
They're not.
much-
He's under the Barry. Like lone players aren't on the cap. It's under the Barry limit what his ELC is worth. So it's not going to cost anything.
But I guess the reason I bring this to the table is because would you guys agree that he's the Avs' best prospect now?
Yeah.
Would you agree that he's probably 3 to 5 years away from realizing?
No, because if he's that far away, then
they
he's not a
shouldn't
real
have
prospect.
Yeah, I mean, I'd
two
say.
years?
Oh,
2 years
okay.
then?
Best prospect that hasn't seen action or has
No,
that we haven't seen.
Who would you
best
say
period.
is best then?
That has that like in the system.
Yeah. Who do you think is the best?
Not Foodie.
Jean-Luc.
Yeah. Guliev has been up there.
Yeah.
He's up there.
I think it's Nabokov. To me,
yeah,
personally,
I do too.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see Guliev up there for a while.
Because here's my whole thing: is it's like signing him, and if he's voiced to the Avalanche, like, "Hey, I want to come over sooner, and I want to play sooner," and the Avs are like, "Well, we're not in position to make that an opportunity for you." It might be that it suits both sides for him to be traded. And we saw that the Avs are not by any means afraid of trading their best prospect. So that's just something I wanted to bring to the table. It probably won't happen. But I'm interested in seeing how that goalie room shakes out over the next couple of seasons for sure.
And
I feel like they trade guys when they decide they have no use for them.
Exactly.
So he hasn't reached, like, until he comes to North America and they see it for themselves. I think they are bought into his potential. So I don't think he's a trade chip. Not saying he's untouchable. I mean, they definitely don't have anybody that's untouchable, but I don't think that's something they're interested in doing. And also, I don't know I think we've talked about this before. Even though he is signed to the NHL contracts, you would be giving another organization something. It's still like a lot of uncertainty. Like, how do you value that as another organization? You're just not going to get a whole lot. Mm-hmm. And so, like, you only get value out of goalie prospects when they've played in the NHL. Like when Annunen finally got a decent number of games, that's when you can move somebody for any value. Like a Russian that's never played in the NHL, like he's not Sorokin. So you just not getting anything for it. So I don't really see them doing that until they get him over, and then they can decide if they're over it or not.
Fair. Well, this is the time of the year where go ahead, Brendan. I don't want to interrupt you. Finish your thought.
Well, and I mean, I've seen a lot of Cooper Gay, but I mean, if we're talking just goalies, but as in terms of skaters, I think Cooper Gay's got something a lot to offer.
Yeah,
and he's got some development that he needs to do, of course, because he's straight out of school and he needs to see some bigger bodies. But I think he's got potential.
Sure. Well, let's see how it all sorts out down there with the Eagles and with our prospects. We'll see how our top 25 under 25.
Yeah, it could be an interesting ranking.
Could be.
I'm
top
very
20
intrigued to
25.
see how that goes this year.
I think
Very
all our
intrigued.
number threes are going to be very different. I think maybe 1 and 2, we already talked about them, but 3 might be like anything.
Sure. Well, that's awesome. We've talked about the goalies. We've talked a little bit about approach at the draft. One of the things I wanted to touch on is the free agency. Obviously, we spun the wheel last time around. We've touched on a few of the targets for the Avalanche. But the topic I want to touch on is kind of the arms race that's seemingly still apparent here in the Central Division with the Avalanche. And now, of course, Dallas Stars, who the Avs were eliminated by in the first round. Dallas re-signs Matt Duchene at a very affordable 4 years by 4.5, I believe, or 4.25, something like that. Very affordable for an 83-point player last season, but he is on the older side. The Avs obviously signed Nelson, and now we're hitting rumors. Obviously, they're just rumors that the Dallas Stars might be in on Mitch Marner. If Dallas is in on Mitch Marner with basically $450K left in their books, what's to say that the Avs aren't in on some of these higher free agents and we'll just have to do the work later on, like it appears Dallas is willing to do. Brendan, Jackie, you go first.
I think right now there's a lot of rumors, of course. So many of them are not going to come true. I think the Marner thing would have to do with moving Robertson, which I don't think they get ahead on that, and I think that's kind of been squashed. Mm-hmm. But when you're talking big names, I think a lot of big names get talked about. Now, I would just say they're not in the rumors because they just can't do it. Sure. I guess the NetChess thing, I mean, it's possible, but the thing is, if moving him this year, you only save that $6-ish million, so you couldn't even use that as, well, if you move him, then you can get a Marner. We can't, because you're not going to get enough money doing that. So
Robertson 7.75 and has no trade clauses.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to Dallas. I don't know. Maybe somebody's using them. I also think teams get thrown into the rumor mill to make other teams get urgent.
Get interested. Yeah.
Exactly. So if you're trying to up Vegas's urgency, then maybe you start talking about Dallas. You know, that's kind of how it works. It is kind of depressing that the Avs aren't in on. Like, I really don't care about rumors. I don't care about things like that. But it is depressing that they're not attached to like any good player.
No.
And we know that they work a lot in quiet, and so that doesn't mean they're doing nothing. But it is sad to think that they can't add like one good player to this team.
Sure. Well, and that's kind of like where I look at Dallas too. I'm just like, how in the world would you? And obviously, you might be right. It could just be pure conjecture and a scheme. Well, we know too that Marner's agent and Rantanen's agent are the same, and that he already clearly has shown to use and manipulate media and quote unquote insiders to the benefit of his client. So
Rantanen's Dreisaitl's agent. Yeah. I think Marner's agent's different.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I think so. I don't know. I could be wrong. But either way, agents are privy now to utilizing these insiders and feeding them information that may not be all that accurate. And what happens is, because it's coming from an insider, it feels legitimized, but in reality, it's fabricated by representation, and it's meant to benefit the player. But who knows? We'll see how that sorts out. It'll be interesting to see if the Avs are working in silence on landing anybody, but it just doesn't feel like it right now.
Doesn't. No.
As long as your co-owner, I guess, doesn't come out and talk about trading their favorite player, everyone's favorite player, Denver Nuggets.
I mean, they're all gone already. So I mean, what?
Well, I mean more so for those of you that are exclusively Colorado Avalanche fans. The Denver Nuggets, also owned by the Kroenkes, had a press conference today, and Josh Kroenke floated the idea of trading Nikola Jokic, who's their best player.
Okay, yeah, I don't
so
know.
Please,
okay, I mean that would be nuclear.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly. If as long as they don't do that to a Nathan McKinnon or a Cale Makar on the Avalanche side,
I think they've come pretty close.
Well, didn't Kroenke say they're going to offer Jokic?
Well, I haven't seen the quote myself.
Yeah, I think one of the Nuggets guy for our Mile High Sports was saying, he's like, they're going to offer him something, but whether he actually takes it is a different story. And we all know how cheap the Kroenkes are.
How much?
My point is that like, as long as you are willing to go after something, and I guess like they were really stubborn with Mikko Rantanen. We've seen this on the Avalanche side. They were really stubborn with Mikko Rantanen and trying to be cheap, and it didn't work out for him, and it bit him in the butt. On the Denver Nuggets side, they fired their coach and their GM days before the playoffs. Now they're talking about the possibility of maybe trading their best player. As long as that doesn't creep over to the Avalanche's side of things, and they are at least still committed to Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar, which is it's been at least portrayed that way for the last little while. I think I remember exactly that quote at the end of the season was, as long as 29 and 8 are there, like, we're going to be competitive and going all onto it.
I think the accountability. I would say that's not a good thing that Josh doesn't care and that there's no accountability. And I'd be very surprised if that's what they meant, that Jokic is on the block. I mean,
No.
I would have to really see
you're
what that
trading the
quote
best
is.
player in the world, and you always lose that trade.
And I think they've already paid a lot for him. And
Yeah.
like, when is his contract? I don't think his contract's
He got drafted during
right
a Taco
away.
Bell commercial, guys. Like,
So-
you don't let a guy like that go.
So I don't know if I would agree with, like, at least we're not the Nuggets. I think somebody cares over there, and I wonder what it would take for anybody to turn an eye to the Avs, and who would even be willing. Like, I don't think the Cronkies can do it themselves, and Josh doesn't know enough about hockey to do it himself. For them to actually care about change and accountability, they would have to hire, like, some sort of president of hockey operations or something like that to go over Sakic and to make any difference. For them to get to that point, they'd probably have to bottom out for, like,
which I think
10
At
years.
least they remember they exist. I'm a soccer fan. I think they forget the Colorado Rapids exist. So that's besides the point.
Hey, I think
they're barely
the
above
Rapids
the
got a
Rapids.
fun thing. The Rapids got a fun atmosphere, man. It's a great place to see a game. They've had great teams. I think here's the deal, though, Evan. If we look at the history of the Kroenke sports, they invest at least enough to get one chip, and then they rest on their laurels as long as they can until the interest fades slightly, and then they go all in once again. And I think if we don't see it that way as Avs and Nuggets and Rapids fans, we're not quite paying attention. Because I think, like, it's kind of a responsible way to realize your success, because you ride these guys that you have that win championships as long as you can until they absolutely throw a stinker, and then you have high draft picks, and you hopefully, rinse and repeat and get some new stars during Taco Bell commercials. So that
Can you tell that it's off season, by the way, everybody? Because we're talking about
the Nuggets.
Well, I mean, the most exciting time is, like, the next 2 weeks. So if it's boring now, that's also kind of a concern. Like,
welcome.
This is when it shouldn't be boring. This is your
Shouldn't be
2
boring,
weeks where it's not boring. And to say it's boring, that's not good either.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the Mile High Basketball Lab as we talk about. I'm just kidding. No, that's I'm literally, my computer right now is sitting on a finals towel from when the Nuggets did raise their banner for the first time in franchise history. So I got ties to the Nuggets as well. Just anything Ball Arena is for me, basically. But I think you're totally right, Jackie. The difference between the situations is that Sakic is there to stop Kroenke from doing something as asinine as trading a Nathan McKinnon or Cale Makar. Whereas in the Nuggets situation, he's cleared house in terms of the specialty and the renowned names in their leadership group. So he could very well say, no, we are trading Nikola Jokic if he's not willing to take this deal. And that is more frightening to me. I look at the Nuggets situation and it makes me realize that, like, there's a million ways to lose. And there's only like 5 ways to win, no matter what sport you're playing. And that's what makes it so hard to realize these championships and build these teams. Because the Nuggets and the Avs basically had polar opposite approaches in terms of what they prioritized. The Avs prioritized basically the core, but minus a guy. And the Nuggets prioritized their whole core minus the coaching and GM. So everything was different, and yet both of them were eliminated.
Well, and then you have the Rockies who just
Rockies
prioritize
don't
nothing.
exist.
Yeah, I do not.
They are not worth the words that people say about them.
Yeah.
Did the Rockies win?
Don't get me
Is that
going
why
on the
it's raining?
Rockies.
Well, let's talk one last thing before we get into our bold predictions. And I do want to touch a little bit on some of the trades that we've seen around the league. We saw Zegras go to the Flyers for Ryan Poling in a second and a fourth. We saw Andre Burakovsky for Joe Veleno, which explain that one to me.
I'm so sorry, Berkey.
Yeah,
right.
Dallas had to dump Mason, the superior diver Marchment, for a third and a fourth round pick. And we saw Jeremy Hansel and Eric Haula exchanged along with a 4th-round pick from New Jersey. With
Hansel on the
Haula-
move again.
Yeah, with Haula landing in Nashville. So there's 3 Central Division teams sort of making moves, with Dallas having to dump a couple guys, or at least Mason Marchment so far. Do you think that the Avs, if they are to make moves, do they fit more of that profile where they're going to leverage some of the guys they just can't bring back for picks? Or do you think that they're just pretty much where they are and that the next couple weeks are going to be more boring than they typically are?
I guess
Oh.
or go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I just started coughing perfect time. They have already said that they're pretty much set in stone, but I do think that they could pull like a Dallas Mason Marchment trade like they did just to get some draft capital, because they need all the help that they can get, especially on the Eagles front when you don't have many guys under contract and they're being tight with money. That's when you look at a guy like a Miles Wood. I feel like he's probably like first on the chopping block. That's a possibility. Brennan's infused that one into my brain.
Yes. He's only like 2.5, but bye.
I feel like he would be the first one on the chopping block, and then there would be someone like a Ross Colton, I guess. But again, like options are just limited when it comes to it.
Sure.
Other than that, I feel like that would really be it for the Avalanche, unless they decide to do something really crazy on draft night or the start of free agency when it comes to making a trade to maybe make room for another guy on the market or whatever. So I don't believe
who we can make room for.
I know what you're gonna say. I know what you're gonna say.
Did they take Nelson? 100%.
Yeah.
Well, my question is, how can they be done? They have half a defense. Like I get it's like fan dreaming that they're gonna make like all these moves and that they're gonna move and shake and they're gonna get rid of like 5 veterans. But like honestly, how are they done with the defense where it is?
They can't be. Yeah,
No.
they can't be.
No,
You need Sam Malinsky at the very least, and then I think he's still a 6th defender too. Even if
he's not gonna be taken like a small like 1.5 or anything like that. I don't even have him sitting going down to the Eagles at all.
Well, he can. Are we talking about Malinsky?
Yeah.
He's sticking around, brother. There's no numbers for him to go down in replace of. That's just not yet anyway. Not that we know of.
No, and then they can't be satisfied with Malinsky and Middleton as their
Absolutely
bottom
not.
pair. That's just
especially on day one. Like you have to assume there's probably always going to be at least one injury. Like so you can't go into the season with that on day one. Plus their $1.2 million isn't enough to even pay Malinsky. So much as they want to say like, oh, we're cool with the roster, like you can't be.
You can't.
So something has to happen.
Because I was exactly thinking that it'd be like 1.8 to 2 million for Malinsky minimum, and then the give me a second, guys. No.
Well, I know that people will bring up the O'Connor LTIR possibility, but I don't think that's an answer either because he is coming back, so it's not like you can just spend it. Sure. And then you're going to need to use that on a guy to replace him, which is going to be around like $1 million or whatever. And then you probably have the leftovers for a 13th forward. So I just don't think that O'Connor on LTIR is going to be the answer for where does your defenseman come from.
I hate that I have to put this out here. But what if
about that, guys?
What if Landeskog? It does need some time, like because this has been kind of talked about for a while. Will he be ready to go for a full 82 game season, or will he need to take if there's a back-to-back? Will he only need to play one game? If he re-aggravates something, God forbid, that then opens up more money.
But the thing is, would it be
Avalanche aren't relying on that?
But it wouldn't be permanent. That's the other thing.
That's the thing too. Exactly, it wouldn't be permanent. Like sure, it's an option. Hopefully that's not an option that they're relying on or asking Gabe as the captain to do, maybe be the bigger man in the situation or whatever. But it wouldn't be permanent. You are exactly right. And it would, then you can only have a full roster by the time the postseason comes around.
That's something I could see. I could see that happening like during the season, Evan. Like we come out of the gates, Landeskog plays day one. He does this thing. Knock on wood, it's not inspired by any sort of setback or actual injury. But I mean, it kind of has to be to a certain extent in order for you to use LTIR without being investigated like the Edmonton Oilers. And so if you do that, it would, to me, I don't see Gabe being like, it's been 3 years, I got 4 games and I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see that. And I mean, he sort of said it would potentially be him being the bigger man. I think he's just dying to be the captain and play again. And so I feel like it's a good thing that that's off the table, because him coming back means Drew In can go. Thank you, sir. Have a nice day. Love him. Bought his jersey. Didn't work out. I bought his jersey because it was like my version of a bold hope purchase. Was like, I'm going to buy this Drew In jersey and he's going to have a playoff for the ages. And, well, that didn't quite happen. And I'm with you guys. I don't think the Avs are in the place to be done. But I think Avs fans will be kind of disappointed in that. That form of not being done is they're going to have to liquidate some of the other players, roster players, and then bring in guys that are cheaper and, once again, less familiar in order to truly fill out the roster itself.
Well,
Go ahead, Brent.
And to get back to the point that I was trying to say before my little guy interrupted, that Middleton and Malinsky have played together. They played together for the majority of the season that Malinsky was down with the Eagles. So they have that chemistry, but they have never. I don't think they played together. They have played together in the NHL very much, if I recall correctly. So
I think they have it. I'm sure they've probably been on the ice at least a couple of times, but I don't think it's been structured to the point where it has been like you are the third pairing, you are playing 10, 15 minutes together on the ice.
Yeah, like I don't think they're like we're set pairs like Tays and Makar were.
Sure.
Who, by the way, I think need to get broken up.
Yeah.
I don't think they have the talent anymore. That second line and second pair does not drive offense. They've been analytically bad for 2 years. They're gonna have to break them up and try to boost that second line. And Nelson ain't driving it by himself, so
No.
they're gonna need to give him some help. So anyway, that's one of my long range hot takes there. But going back, I want to go back to kind of the original question that Adrian had, is these trades that we've seen other teams make this week. I think what it tells you is how hard it is to move money. You look at Zegras, that is an insane return for some, and we know that he's had a dip and he has issues, but for somebody with that much talent, that much ceiling, that you basically traded a second round pick for, it's because of the money. It's because he was getting paid $5.75 million. The same with Burakovsky. We know he has talent and ability. That is how toxic it is for somebody to be getting overpaid. Mm-hmm. And so that's the concern the Avs have, is if they're trying to move some of these guys, is that they are overpaid and they're not going to get value out of it. And that's kind of the problem. Is like with Miles Wood, everyone's like, oh, just send San Jose a sixth to take him. It's 4 years. They're not just going to take $10 million. Even a franchise in the position they're in right now, these teams do not take money like that without getting something real in return.
Not to mention they have a guy like Celebrini who, to a point, they're going to have to satisfy. And if they're just clearly cap dumping every season, his contract's going to come up. And of course, he'll be restricted, but he's the type of guy people would offer sheet. Celebrini is. So
it's looked somewhat happier than Connor Bedard has. I'll give him that.
Yeah. Well, but I think that it aligns with the fact that, like, San Jose is not going to be a great team next season. but I think that they're trending in the right direction. And I think they have been for about a year and a half. Maybe the wins and losses haven't stacked up that way, but I think as the roster construction comes and when you look at their assets, they have the potential to be a pretty good team 4 or 5 years down the road. So I think that that's something you kind of have to safeguard. And when you take on a contract like Miles Wood, along with, like a 6th round pick, it's hard to explain that one other than saying like, yeah, we're doing the Avs a solid because we're not in position to win. And I just don't. This is a competitive league. I just don't see solutions like that being so attainable. So I honestly think the Avs are stuck with Miles Wood. As hard as it is to say, I think that will be the thorn in everyone's side as the season progresses. It's like, how and why is Miles Wood still on the books? And it's because he's almost impossible to trade with the context of his injuries and that figure. So, and that term. So that's kind of where I stand on the Miles Wood thing. We have about 5 minutes left. Jackie, I think you had a question. I don't know if you got to ask it, so let's hear it right now.
No, I just kind of wanted to maybe put forth some, because I know we or I complain a lot. We want to put forth some actionable requests. Realistic. I'm not asking for players back that should have never left. We're talking about realistic things that they can do. And I want to put it to all of you, but I will also have my own answer for this. Just 3 things we want, specific things we would like to see the Avs do this offseason.
Okay, I got good ones. And folks, head on over to milehighhockey.com because an article will be dropping tomorrow that will encircle my number 1 thing that I want to see them do, which is in contrary to the I guess the dialogue this postseason, which is I want to see the Avs re-legitimize and re-bolster their penalty kill. Because I think if you look at I have reasons. 1, this is an affordable thing to solve. You can find guys in the bottom 6 and in your bottom pairings at a cheap level who specialize in blocking shots and retrieval and getting the puck out of the bleeping zone. Because sure, the Avs were unable to score on a 4-minute power play in overtime and subsequently lost that game in OT in a series where they lost 7. But they also gave up power play goals aplenty, especially in Game 7, which kind of was a thorn in the side. When you look at the percentages, the Avs were 69% on the kill. Every team in the last 27 seasons has roughly been around an 80% kill rate throughout their playoff run, which means they kill 4 in every 5 penalties. That was not a characteristic of the Avalanche this postseason. And honestly, it absolutely was in 2022, despite them coming in at like 79% that season. In fact, the lowest team in the last 27 years power play or penalty kill percentage-wise was the 2001 Colorado Avalanche. So to me, it feels like that's a reasonable thing to do. You can go get guys at that level. Jackie, 2, it's be more simple on the power play. I don't need to explain that. We've done it a million times. And 3, limit your roster turnover as much as you can so that camp and the systems that you learn with the new assistant set in a way that gives you somewhat of a competitive advantage as far as that is concerned. And that is my TED Talk. Thank you so much for coming.
Okay. I have similar ones, if that's okay, Jackie.
That's fine.
Okay.
Whatever you got.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much in the same boat with Ado with simplifying the power play, finding a guy that on the assistant side anyway, that would help kind of solidify things, but then at the same time simplify it, but then also give you multiple options. Because we saw for years the drop pass entry into the zone, force the defenders back, and then work it around, cycle it around, get McKinnon in his spot, get McCarr in his spot, and hope that one of those two will set up somebody else or put it home themselves. Give yourself different options to move around a guy like a McKinnon. Give you more options for McCarr to be not just a quarterback, on the power play, but give him options to move around because he's basically a 5th forward. He basically is. That's of course more on the coaching side. The second thing I would say is keep your I don't know how the best way to say this, but keep her core together, because I feel like that's kind of been lost in all of this, especially after the Mikko Rantanen trade. Do you really, really, really want to keep your guys together? And I guess what I mean by that is, will they sign Marty Necas to a new contract? Because he's eligible starting July 1st.
Mhm.
Will you sign him to his new contract early and say, hey, we want you to stay here? Obviously, he's going to get paid a lot of money. It might be cheaper to do it now versus in, next February or March or whatever, by the time he's, through most of the season with the Avalanche in his first full-time year. Do you want to keep him together with the McKinnon, with the Makar, with the Taves? Because those guys are all locked down. Landeskog, obviously, he should presumably be back full-time. Hopefully what I said earlier is not true. So
Yeah.
I just really think, like, keep your things together and hope for the best that maybe you can buy into it a little bit more like you did in 2022. And I guess the third thing that I'd like to see, and I think Jackie will like this, maybe someone can advance full-time from the Eagles or a prospect role into more of a NHLer. And I guess the first player that comes to mind that could possibly maybe do that, it's very much a stretch, is Sean Behrens. Because Behrens, he's a cheaper defender, of course. He was out, though, for the entirety of last year with his knee injury. So I don't foresee that happening. If the Avs really want to be cheap and they don't want to deal with Keaton Middleton on the blue line, maybe Behrens is the guy. It could be someone else. It could be a Pole and a Steinberg, whatever. But I'd like to see that, too. Inject some youth into this team that is pretty old. I looked at the roster today, and I was like, oh my gosh.
I am team oldest roster. I want them to get there. I want them to be the oldest roster. So I was disappointed when Jonathan Toews didn't sign, because, like, dang, I really, really want to be on that
Thank God
oldest roster train.
Thank God.
Yeah. That was a question I posed on Twitter, is would you rather probably pay too much for Charlie Coyle or a little bit for Jonathan Toews, but risk the fact that you don't really know where he's at right now in his career and in terms of his production? And a lot of people had not so nice things to say about Jonathan Toews, so we'll just put it at that. But Brennan, what are your three? I love this, by the way, Jackie.
Okay, good.
Well, I mean, to piggyback off that, Jonathan Toews is I know he's been out with long COVID, and he's a question mark. He's kind of like Landeskog this year. Yes, we've seen Landeskog in action, and we've seen him come back into a playoff setting, no less, and everything like that. So his lung capacity and his leg strength is going to be a huge a huge question mark. Yep. My big thing is that he is also the captain of the team that was the whole scandal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want to. It's like I don't want to like head into that direction of a conversation, but
sure.
Because that could be a whole podcast in itself. But it's you can't tell me he was a captain and of that team and didn't know something was happening.
Sure.
For God's sakes, I was a captain of a beer league team and I knew stuff was going, like personal stuff of my teammates.
Sure.
Of a beer league team.
Yeah.
And I was only spending like 2 hours a week with those guys. So these guys, these hockey players are spending 40 plus hours a week, if not more. So that's the main reason I didn't want Toews, and I didn't want to comment on that just to get blasted, but that's just me.
Well, I mean, you are entitled to your opinion, and that is a situation where you absolutely get to have a take as it's settled itself outside. But,
good thing we don't have to worry about reconciling that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's and his age is a factor, and it's there's a lot of things. It just I was like, no.
Age is a factor for me too. I'll tell you that much right now.
No, I want them all old. Older the better.
Yeah.
So much experience, that leadership.
It's like
that
when we run
grit.
in a Ginla.
So is that
That-
number one for you, Brennan, or is it just a side tangent?
That was just a side thing. But so first thing I want to see is I want to see the prospects. If they get pulled up, I want to see them get pulled up for more than 2 games.
Yeah.
This whole BS of 2 games and they're out, and then you don't see them for the rest of the year is it knocks their confidence. It doesn't do anything for their development. I want to see stretches like what Matt Steinberg had earlier, early in the season, where he was up 10, 15 games, I believe. We need to see more of that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe we've all forgotten about Ivan. Like that was the example of not what they did to him at the end, but for the
literally
2/3 of the time.
Yeah,
that's
he played the most games
do.
of any Eagle, and then got thrown down, and you could tell it hit his confidence. And even Sneakloff said that he was sent down because he needed a boost in confidence, but then he never found that boost in confidence with the Eagles. That was his problem.
And it's also the structure, the style of play. You're used to having NHL teammates. You're not going back to NHL teammates. You're like everyone thinks, you get sent down, like you're good, you're decent in the NHL. You should just light it up in the AHL. It doesn't work like that because you don't have NHL teammates or structure.
Yeah, not everyone's Ben Myers.
Because
Ben Myers would be a 4th liner for the Avs, 1st liner with the Eagles, and he'd be getting 2 points a night. And then they bring him back up, and then he wouldn't do diddly squat with the Avs, and people were like, why is he not doing that? It's a completely different game.
Yeah.
And then they get written, they play 6 minutes, and then they get written off. It's like, well, you were in the NHL, you did nothing, so why should we care?
It's like you go from playing 20 minutes down to playing 7 minutes, and you expect me to have the same production playing 7 minutes instead of 15 or 20. So
right.
Yeah, and it's like Jack O'Shawn is a very good example. He averaged 23 minutes per ice time per game. He got pulled up for 2 games, and people were like, well, he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It's like, he was on the 3rd pair. What did you expect him to do? I mean,
sure.
The sad thing is I think that this isn't just like fans. I think the organization has that mindset as well, which that's the scary part.
Yeah. And so that's the first thing. And of course, being an Avs Eagles reporter, I'm going to have a little bit of bias towards that. So
sure.
Eagles matter, as Savvy would say. Which she should be having that piece come out pretty soon. But she screams that from the mountaintops like every day.
You know what I would scream? Put the prospects on Power Play 1. Just do it. Just see what happens.
See what happens.
Yeah, like against the Blackhawks. Just do it. Yeah. What are you afraid of?
No, I mean on Power Play 1 for the Eagles. They need to be on
yeah.
Power Play 1 for the Eagles because
against the Blackhawks.
That's where the production happens.
It's the same thing.
Play 1.
We need to have another. Number 2 is we need to find another like Andrew Cogliano.
Yeah, I like that one. Satisfies my PK stuff.
Yes, yes, he was like a 3rd or a 4th liner, but was awesome at the PK, was playing every night, could play through anything and everything.
Yeah.
And then
except a broken neck. Thanks, Seattle.
Yeah, don't get me going on that one. I'm so tempted to actually ask him about that when I see him the next time. But I like the man legitimately scares me. So
he's got that scowl, bro.
He does. Like he I don't know. Even when he was playing and I was credentialed, he legitimately scared the heck out of me. So they need an experienced defensive forward on the PK that can help out with that and improve those PK numbers.
Yeah.
3 is they've been talking about team unity and trying to get the room into the chemistry, the team chemistry and everything and like that. And so that's why they cleared out, Georgiev and Annunen and got rid of the cancer, I guess you could say. I don't know, guys, maybe go on a team trip before before training camp.
I like it. Remember the Titan style, baby.
Did you see
exactly.
They didn't do the mom or dad's trip this year? Just whatever. Just don't do it.
Yeah,
Really?
like do more team-oriented stuff. Like I get it. You guys are doing like the captain skates and stuff like that before training camp, but do like a team get away to like Aspen.
I like
where
it.
there's
Is that
also
really a getaway? They all live there.
well, not actually, but
I know.
but there's also a rink up there, so they can train out of the public's eye. So
Nice.
that while they're up there, they can do things outside of the rink. They can golf and they can do all that fun junk, but they are also team bonding.
Right. All right. I like it. Jackie, that's 3, right, Bren?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's
Those are your
3.
3. Jackie?
All right. I'm gonna cheat a little. I might have a 4, but I'll get through them quick. So first, I guess I would like to see one player traded. It's overpaid. Is this realistic? We talked about maybe not, but I'd like to see it. Would like to see a top 100 pick for this draft. I think that would help them a lot. Was that going to happen? Do I expect it? No, but that's what I'm asking for. And if the return isn't that, they need a real top 4 defenseman. The strategy cannot be, oh, we'll just rent one when we get there at the deadline. No, you need to bring in a real defenseman. So if you can either do that with a trade of like a Colton or somebody, that's what they really need. They need somebody that's going to be there all year. I hate the whole, oh, we don't need it, we'll just get it at the deadline. That's not how you build a team. Like, you had extra things at the deadline. You don't plan to fill giant holes at the deadline. So that's what I would like to see. I'd like to see them actually make a commitment to adding a legitimate defenseman. And
I dig it.
3, I'd like to see Netcha signed. The sooner the better. It has to happen by training camp. If the puck drops at training camp and he's not signed, it is a massive problem. But does it need to happen in July? No, but it needs to happen by puck drop in September. It has to. I can't be more stressed that it has to happen by then. And just for me, bring in a player I like, that I want to watch and root for and entertain me. So if any of these moves get to that, super. But just for me, I just want to root for somebody. So
hey, Jackie, does a guy like Bowen Byram satisfy that for you?
Well, I mean, yes, that's the obvious answer, but no, it doesn't have to be just him. Like,
sure.
Like, for example, Utah wants to throw away Lawson Krause. You do something to bring him in, I am stoked. So it's more than just bring Byram back. There's a lot of players I like in the league. And if they added one, I would be happy.
Yeah.
So,
well,
Brennan, you're lucky that you were muted for that, by the way. I saw what you did.
Me?
No, Brennan. Because you said bring a player I'd like to watch, and I'll give you one guess as to which player he said.
Brad Marchand. He'd be entertaining. I'll give you that. I mean, I way back in the day, remember I said Marchand would have been more entertaining than Nelson.
I like a guy like Dante Fabro. I don't know how easy it'll be to get him out of Columbus, but if you're looking at a younger, I guess, guy who could potentially slot up into the top group with Kale, allowing Tays to go to the second pair, He played and looked pretty good alongside Zach Werenski, another Norris finalist. So there's my thought. That may or may not be featured in tomorrow's article about the penalty kill excellence. Obviously, a guy like him isn't necessarily known for killing, but similar to a guy like Sam Girard, and I'm sure there are hundreds of people who don't like Sam Girard who are pulling their hair out and are now not liking Dante Fabro because I'm comparing them. But they're both very good at puck retrieval skills. And that's really important when it comes to penalty kills. And obviously, Girard had his moment in this postseason on the kill, but I will let it be. And you guys know my pick. That was a fun thing to do, Jackie. I like that. I'm gonna make somebody else come to the table with an idea like that, Jackie. So thank you very much.
Okay, good. I just figured people would want to hear like specifics. What do we want? Sure. So then if they do that, I'll give them credit. If they do these things that we ask, we'll give them credit. But so we've laid it out on the table.
Yeah. Well, we got a couple of comments from Anthony. Anthony, thank you so much for tuning in. He says, Bednar's leash on call-ups is too short. He has no trust. Yeah, that's one of the things we want to see change coming up into the next season is if you do call up a guy, let him spin a little bit here. But all that's left for us now is bold predictions. And I have a fun announcement. We have a new sponsor. First-time sponsor for our show here at the Mile High Hockey Lab. It's a company called Brews Ale House down here in Pueblo, Colorado. So this is your bold predictions brought to you by Brews.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I call that bold talk.
Okay.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. All right. So Brews Ale House, baby. It's actually a wonderful place down here in Pueblo. They make their own beer, and it is absolutely delicious. They use the best water in town. They have a ton of technology in there, and they put on all the games. There's actually specials during the Avs and Nuggets seasons where you can go there during the game, get your drink specials on. And, of course, they have live music, which is kind of how I stumbled upon them. So be sure to head onto their website, brewsalehouse.com, and check out their lineup that's coming up and check out the new items on the menu, including the new beverages. So let's look at the predictions we made a few weeks ago. We had 6-4 Florida. Barkov gets 2 points. Ezra, he's not here. And honestly, none of these came true except for, and not really, Brendan, who had Marchand scoring the game winner. You had the score wrong, but you correctly predicted that it would go to overtime and that Brad Marchand himself would score the game winner. So I'm going to give you a ding, my friend. Starting next regular season, I'm going to make a docket. So every time we do this, we're going to update the scoreboard, and then at the end of the season, someone's going to win the Brews Ale House Bold Predictions trophy. That's how we're going to do it as we circle into the next season. And I'm happy to announce to those of you who are listening and watching right now, there's about 1,000 of you, that we are keeping the crew together over here at Mile High Hockey Lab, at least as far as we know right now. Our core is intact. The four of us, and Ezra, who's not here today, will all be back for next season. So thank you to everyone for joining again. So let's get into what we can really predict, which I think is the draft and free agency. So, Jackie, I'll start with you.
Oh boy. Goodness. You might have to come back to me.
Okay, I got one, and this hopefully will inspire some of your bold predictions. I do think that the Avs make multiple trades on draft day.
Which draft day?
Yeah, that's true. There's two.
Well,
I'll say day one. Because I do think that they want more than what they have in terms of draft equity.
Yeah, they don't even have a pick in the first 3 rounds, of course.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. All right. So that's what I got down. Multiple trades, and to me, that's 2 or more, obviously. What about you guys? Brandon, what you got for me?
Well, they got to make room, so someone's got to go.
I wonder who.
Would. Did anybody say Wood?
Yeah.
If
So Miles
anyone
Wood
is a
on the
Full
block.
House fan, they should know that. No, I'm suspecting Wood is going to possibly go to try and get like fourth or fifth round, because I don't think he's worth anything higher than that. And then possibly with all these rumors on Netchus, maybe they may push Netchus and try and get a first or a second.
Yeesh. That would be flying in the face of Nathan McKinnon's we don't win cups with picks. We don't win them without them, apparently, either. Anyways,
Well, yeah, you
Jackie,
don't.
go ahead.
Not the first 3 rounds in 2 years. You don't.
Yeah. Jackie, are you ready, or do you need me to send it to Evan?
Okay. Well, my eternal bold prediction has been they move Malinsky with Wood. I'm still I swear if that one comes true, like I've been saying that one for so long.
I will punch a hole through this wall.
Because I think that's the only way they can do it. And I still feel like I just have never. They like Malinsky, but the contract, there's no contract. He doesn't have trade protection. All of the others have trade protection. Even Miles Wood has trade protection.
Yeah, unfortunately.
He doesn't have a contract. He doesn't have trade protection. He has value. I don't know. For some reason, I've always felt so. I'm going to say that one, but I do want to give a draft prediction. I will say a former Av will get traded during the draft. Can I have both days, though? Sometimes deals go down, but a former Av will get traded during the draft. So it has to be during, though. It has to be during.
Yeah. Oh, and Jackie, you predicted that, just to get back to our other ones, that Kucherov would win the Hart. That didn't happen.
I know.
That didn't happen. He did win the
Lindsay.
The Lindsay.
He did win the Lindsay. Yeah. And McDavid didn't win the Conn Smythe again, which is good.
Thank God.
I'm glad that they actually let a winner have the Conn Smythe. Yeah.
All right, Evan. That just leaves you, my friend.
Oh, I feel like I'm gonna get some pushback for this one because you all pretty much took the ones that I was gonna take.
We're gonna get McDermott back.
I didn't even think about that.
I don't think
about that. I think the Avalanche will trade one or both of their picks to get another roster player.
Oh my God.
I know.
Man,
I could see that happening. I could see it happening knowing the
Avalanche.
Avalanche.
It has to be this year's, though. Like, if they move next year's, it doesn't count. You mean this year?
That would legitimately be punting on the draft. Like, that is literally.
I think they need to pick something.
They have to.
But
they got spots to fill down the board of affiliation, so they have to. And they don't want to do that on an expensive basis.
We all know that they don't care about Utah.
Yeah, we got into that.
Yeah,
for sure. Even though I think young Sage might want to look up Salt Lake.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I think that's where Sage is going to end up because I think Hank is going to take his spot. But it's looking bleak.
All right. Well, that just tells me that we have kind of something to look forward to here this weekend with the draft, because all 4 of this panel has predicted that they're going to make some moves, some a little splashier than others, but that could be very well the case. Imagine if we're all right, that would be an absolute perfect storm. But folks, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been the 107th edition of the Mile High Hockey Lab. We are having a ton of fun talking Avs, even though it's almost July, and it's that time of year where we get excited about things just for a second, and then we shut it down again for like 2 months until training camp rolls around and the development camp and the rookie camp and all that stuff. So
I don't think we'll be gone that long, right? Like we won't periodic.
We're not going to shut it down, but I just mean like the news lines are always kind of like
There's always something to talk about.
Yeah, there is always something. There's usually like a contract or
like a Wood trade.
Yeah.
That's true. That doesn't necessarily have to happen this weekend.
You are
Yeah.
just like if you say it like you feel like you say it 80 times, it's gonna happen. I could tell. Yeah.
Yeah, just like Brad Marchand coming to
Yeah,
Colorado.
exactly. Yeah. Oh, that didn't happen, didn't
Oh,
it? Well,
if McKinnon only had more sway.
seriously, did he not whisper in his ear at the World Championships or
Or at Four Nations,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
they were on the
Yeah,
team
so-
together.
Yeah, and Marchand was like a character staple in that tournament. But I really appreciate the three of you for joining me today. Let's circle back again in a couple weeks, maybe next week, depending on how things shake out at the draft. Be prepared for a emergency episode in case there's a crazy trade, as we know. But on behalf of the Mile High Hockey Lab, I've been here today with Brennan Vogt of Hockey Mountain High and Evan Liu of the same affiliation, Jackie K, our managing editor over at milehighhockey.com, and myself, a contributing editor over there. And, of course, go give our boy Ezra Parter, who could not join us today, a follow. And follow us on X at @MHH_lab and at Mile High Hockey. And to be newly formed next week, Mile High Basketball Lab. So thank you so much for tuning in. There's about 1,100 of you right now. Until next time, I say this every time, but go Avalanche.
Thank you for tuning into the Mile High Hockey Lab.